For nearly half a century, Voyager 2 raced through the void, 12 billion miles from home, our reliable cosmic scout crossing into the unknown. But in 2023, an unlikely signal pulsed back. A heartbeat, repeating every 7.44 seconds. It was too regular to be random, too structured to ignore. When engineers traced its origin, they didn't find a malfunction. They found a code buried in geometric recursion, as if something out there wasn't just reflecting Voyager's signal, but rewriting it. Suddenly, the edge of interstellar space looked less like a boundary and more like a veil, one that might respond if you dared to knock. What happens next will challenge everything we thought we knew about the cosmos. Voyager 2 slipped its earthly bonds on August 20th, 1977, launched from Cape Canaveral atop a Titan 3 rocket. The craft was no larger than a small car, yet it carried the hopes of a generation. It was an emissary built to last just 5 years, tasked with a grand tour of 4 planets, and designed to send back what no one had ever seen before. By the time it reached the edge of our solar system, it had already rewritten the textbooks. Jupiter's swirling storms, Saturn's icy rings, Uranus's tilted axis, Neptune's blue methane clouds, all captured and relayed across billions of miles. It was never meant to go this far. But as the decades passed, Voyager 2 just kept going, pressing outward, crossing orbit after orbit. Its instruments quietly measured plasma flows, cosmic rays, and magnetic fields at the very edge of the sun's influence. Every signal it sent took over 16 hours to reach Earth. Each packet of data arrived weaker than a whisper, yet carried the undeniable weight of discovery. In November 2018, the probe crossed the heliopause, becoming only the second human-made object to enter interstellar space. Today, it's more than 12 billion miles from home, traveling at nearly 34,000 miles per hour, well beyond the planets, through a region where the sun's wind finally gives way to the pressure of the galaxy itself. Even as its power dwindles, Voyager 2 remains our silent scout on the final frontier. A machine built in the analog age, still returning measurements from a realm no human eye will ever see. Its endurance is measured not just in years, but in the sheer persistence of its signal, a steady pulse in the dark, defying time and distance. Then, on July 21, 2023, a single flawed command left Voyager 2's high-gain antenna pointed just 2 degrees off target. It's a margin so small it would go unnoticed here on Earth, but at 12 billion miles, it spelled silence. The spacecraft's transmitter kept pulsing out radio waves, but its beam no longer struck home. For the Deep Space Network, the world's largest and most sensitive radio telescopes, the familiar data stream vanished, replaced by an unnerving void. Inside Mission Control, there was no panic, just a cold, methodical review of what went wrong. The probe's steering brain had done exactly what it was told. The error was in the command file, not the machine. Engineers traced the fault to a simple version mix-up. An outdated set of parameters, sent by mistake, had nudged the antenna off-axis. The consequences were absolute. At this distance, a 2-degree error is the difference between being heard and being lost forever. Still, every system on board kept running. The spacecraft's orientation remained stable. Its instruments kept sampling the plasma and cosmic rays of interstellar space. The only thing missing was the bridge back home. And somewhere, in the static, the carrier signal Voyager's faint heartbeat still pulsed, proof that the probe was alive, waiting for a command that could find it in the dark. For the engineers, the question was simple. Could they reach it before its automatic reset in October? Or would the world's most distant explorer have to find its way back all on its own? As RF engineers at the Deep Space Network pored over spectral plots, they picked up a faint but persistent anomaly. Hidden beneath the static, a low-frequency pulse repeated with uncanny precision. Every 7.44 seconds, a harmonic rose and faded, threading through the carrier signal like a coded whisper. This wasn't telemetry as they knew it. The signal's strength didn't waver with the probe's rotation, and its cadence never slipped, no matter what commands were sent from Earth. Routine test resets, overrides, Even blanketing the channel with noise did nothing. The pulse continued, as if Voyager 2 had tuned itself to a rhythm beyond its own circuitry. Engineers ran diagnostics on every subsystem, searching for a malfunctioning oscillator or some internal feedback loop. Nothing matched. The spacecraft's own clock showed no sign of drift. The few data packets that got through, though corrupted, still showed the correct orientation and power levels. Yet, the pulse remained, immune to resets, unshaken by software patches. It was as if the source of this heartbeat lay somewhere outside the probe, echoing back through the void. For the first time, the team considered that this anomaly might not be a hardware glitch or a quirk of aging software. The evidence began to suggest a signal imposed from beyond the spacecraft itself. Something in the environment, perhaps the very fabric of space Voyager now crossed, was weaving its own pattern into the transmission. The question shifted from what is failing to what is reaching out. The mystery was pressing outward, away from the familiar logic of onboard systems and into the vast unknown. Legacy decoders, built to interpret the earliest Voyager transmissions, were brought back into service when the raw carrier logs refused to yield any familiar pattern. Data forensic specialists began mapping the corrupted segments bit by bit. What surfaced was not static or random dropouts. It was structure. Binary markers were embedded at regular intervals, with each block aligning to a six-sided lattice. When they mapped it visually, the sequence revealed a geometry no one expected. Hexagons nested inside larger hexagons, a recursion echoing natural forms like honeycombs, but never before seen in spacecraft data. The arrangement repeated, not as a glitch, but with a consistency that suggested intent. Each layer folded into the next, as if the signal itself had been woven to carry meaning beyond simple telemetry. Timestamp analysis added a deeper layer of confusion. The clock signatures stamped on these packets were out of phase with Voyager's own internal timeline. They didn't match the probe's clock or the round-trip light delay. The markers appeared offset, lagging by intervals that didn't correspond to any known event. It was as if the data blocks were assembled from a parallel sequence, with time itself shifted just enough to defy easy alignment. What began as corrupted telemetry now looked less like an error and more like a message, composed in a domain just beyond the reach of Voyager's original design. A new radical theory began to circulate among the mission analysts, one that challenged the very idea of the heliopause as a simple boundary. The data hinted at something more, a field, not a wall that seemed to absorb Voyager 2's outgoing signals, modify them, and send them back altered. The corrupted packets weren't just noise. They were being shaped, as if the probe signal had entered a region that could interact with it, not just block or scatter it. Some started calling it the veil, an active layer at the edge of the solar system, capable of echoing transmissions and perhaps even reactivating dormant systems in the probe. Inside the deep space network, the mood shifted. Communications protocols grew tighter. Access to the latest telemetry was suddenly restricted, with new layers of clearance required. Analysts who had worked the probe's signal path for years found themselves reassigned or asked to pause their work. For the first time in the mission's history, portions of Voyager 2's data stream were withheld from the public logs. The event was quietly labeled V2X in internal memos, a code that carried far more weight than explanation. The question was no longer just about what the probe had encountered, but why the institution was treating this anomaly as more than just a technical glitch. The stakes had clearly changed, and so had the circle of those allowed to see the full picture. The debate fractured, but the evidence refused to cooperate. Timing analysis of the Voyager 2 pulse revealed a cadence built on prime multiples, echoing the mathematical signatures once found in the 1977 WOW signal and some of the most enigmatic fast radio bursts. Some argue for exotic plasma turbulence, magnetic chaos, or interstellar dust as the source of the pattern. Others pointed to the precision too regular, too recursive to dismiss as natural. The risk was not just technical, but philosophical. If this field was structured, perhaps even aware, then every transmission we send becomes a question of intent. Should humanity attempt to reply, risking a message that could be misunderstood? Or should we stay silent, preserving the fragile anonymity of our cosmic address? Proposals were circulated. Repeat the signal, launch a new probe designed for dialogue, or retreat and simply observe. The data offered no comfort, only a choice suspended at the edge of knowledge, a crossroads between curiosity and caution, with no consensus in sight. Thank you for watching. What do you think is out there? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey to the edge of space, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the cosmos.